The best advice anyone ever gave me was 2 words. You can't. And you know what my response was? 2 words. Watch me.
Welcome to the Team Crosson podcast. We're Phil and Danielle Crosson, a father and daughter team serving in law enforcement and competing as amateur bodybuilders. Everything we share comes from real life, early mornings in the gym, long days in uniform, and a commitment to discipline, service, and constant growth. This podcast is about building strength physically, mentally, and professionally. Each week we talk about accountability, resilience, fitness, mental health, leadership, and the mindset it takes to raise your standards in every area of life. Whether you're in uniform, under the bar, or leading at work or at home, you're in the right place. So let's get started.
Okay. Welcome everyone to Team Crosson Podcast, episode 16. Today's guest we have with us is Rich Fitter, Strength and Strategy, a tactical talk with Rich Fitter today. We're going to spend some time with Rich, learn more about him. He's a certified personal trainer, a nutrition coach, strength coach, and the founder of Fitter Tactical Strength. Rich is known for his work with helping first responders, athletes, bodybuilders, people recovering from injuries, surgeries, cancer. It just goes on, and we're going to hopefully learn a lot about Rich today and his background. Rich has been imperative in helping Danielle and I return to bodybuilding after reconstructive and joint replacement surgeries, injuries, illnesses, you name it. So,
Well, Rich, thank you so much for joining us. We are so excited to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
this is it's kind of awesome too, because we don't get to catch up with you video as well. So it's a little personal on top of it. But Rich, there's no way I can do justice to your background. It's so vast and so amazing. So why don't you give us a little bit about your background and tell us where your fitness journey began?
Personally, it started, I guess, 1979. I got a weight set for Christmas and, just kind of fell in love with lifting and bodybuilding and powerlifting and all sorts of strength sports. I got my first job as a trainer in August of 1984, a couple of months after high school. And that's pretty much what I've been doing for I would say the majority of my life. Somehow being involved in fitness and training and, um, whether it's bodybuilding or powerlifting or right now it's working with our cancer patients here in Hawaii. I've done stints in cardiac rehab, orthopedic injuries, post rehab. Working with you both with various injuries and surgeries and things like that, and that's just kind of I kind of feel that's where my passion is currently. It's just helping people either return to sport or improve the quality of their life.
And your success in that field has been amazing, just from what we've witnessed personally and some other people that I've known over the years that I've had the pleasure to see you work with and bring along, some high school, college athletes, getting them past injuries or to that next level. It's just been amazing, and inspiring to watch that. And now to see the work that you're doing with the cancer patients and giving them opportunities to strengthen and work through the treatments. It's just amazing work. I congratulate you for that.
Thank you.
So what inspired you to create Fitter Tactical Strength?
Both of my parents were first responders. My dad was on the fire department in the town I grew up in. My mother was on the rescue squad, so I've kind of, I had many aunts and uncles on the fire department and rescue squad growing up. I've always had people that I'm friendly with that are in law enforcement or, on all different levels, federal, state, local, and whatnot. So just kind of seeing that, the tactical fitness is kind of it's a specialty. And I know that we've talked about it before with, with your experiences in the police academy and being on the job. You're always going to get people they're in great gym shape. They can go into the gym 6 days a week and they can put in 2-hour workouts, or they do CrossFit, or they do whatever. But then they show up for the academy and it's a whole different ball game.
Right.
Or you get people that they go to the gym and the workouts they're doing don't necessarily translate to keeping them healthy while they're on the job.
Exactly.
So to me, it's kind of um, you know, like I said, I think I was heavily influenced by my parents and their roles and responsibilities in town. And just trying to keep people healthy while they're on the job, because you do get banged up. I know that we've talked about, you never know when a call is going to come in, and your heart goes from like 0 to 60 in like 3 seconds, and your adrenaline's pumping and all of that. So that requires a different level of fitness than somebody just walking into the gym and saying, okay, I'm going to psych myself up for my workout and I'm kind of go through this whole process. There really is no process when there's an emergency. It's just it's that fight or flight kicks in.
Yep.
And that is something that you have to be physically conditioned for. Um, the other thing is going to the academy. It's not about how much you can bench press, or how much you can squat. It's about the push-ups and the running and the sit-ups and the obstacle courses and you know the bear crawls and the crab crawls, and I warned you about that. And getting through that, it's a grind. It's like a daily thing, and so um you have to be conditioned for that type of exercise, that type of workout. And then you also have to realize that stuff you're going to be tested on. You're not going to be tested on, how much you can curl, or
Well,
how much you can leg press.
I,
There are specific tests, and there are specific ways of doing those tests. And you have a certain time period that you have to accomplish it in. So that was, for me, that was something that I felt that I could use my skills to help people with.
it's interesting, Rich. I remember some of the conversations, and I remember when we worked together over at RDA Fitness, seeing you work with some of the clients, Danielle and some others from, the federal and municipal law enforcement that were going to take their physical fitness exams. And a lot of the stuff you worked on, I remember involved like explosive movements. We talked about situations, to your point, where you're not going to have to worry about bench pressing or curling, but you may go from standing still to having to chase somebody in a split second that takes off on you when you're trying to effect an arrest, or scaling a fence and being able to make those different kind of moves and have your body move differently than you would in a standard exercise. So it was interesting even talking to some of those people that were training with you, because everyone comes in with that mentality of working out for the academy of, I'll just do some push-ups, some bench press, some pull-ups, those basic exercises. And some of the stuff you had them doing was really unique, using medicine balls and, different movements and techniques you were using that were actually getting them ready for those types of movements that they would be faced with. So whole different workout.
It's I think the first rule in strength and conditioning is injury prevention. A lot of people think it's performance. It's we're going to get you stronger, we're going to get you faster, we're going to get you more agile. But really, the first thing that you have to look at is okay, is this person in a better position now to do this stuff without getting injured? As opposed to let's just jump right into performance. And I think when you take a look at it, it's like when you do a push-up, and I've said it before, a push-up is a plank in motion. If you think about it, everybody hates doing planks because your time stands still.
Right.
Um, Push-up is a little bit easier to kind of get people to do because you're actually doing something and it kind of makes the time go faster. But it's the same thing. That body has to be stable, and that's what you're getting graded on when you're in the police academy is your form. You have to reach a certain depth, and you have to, maintain a certain position. When you do these things, when you watch somebody run or you watch somebody jump or climb over a fence or something like that, you're looking at it and saying, like, okay, how can I make sure that when they do that, they are explosive and they are able to do it, but they're also protecting their body and preventing any sort of injury? Because if you do get injured in the police academy, it's really not good for you know, for your time there. Um, yeah, and that was the thing I mentioned after Danielle's knee surgery, that want to make sure that she is bulletproof going into the academy, so there are no issues with her knee, or with you with your shoulders in bodybuilding and things like that. We want to make sure that the your $6 million shoulder you know is stable and protected, and it's all the same principle. It's the um injury prevention first, performance second.
Yeah, absolutely, and you've always preached that. It's interesting because my next question really just kind of compounds on that. What are the biggest mistakes people make after surgery or an injury that you see with regards to maybe working out?
Going right back to doing the same things that got them injured in the first place.
I kind of
Um,
figured you're going to go there.
and I've had those conversations over the years with people where they've hurt themselves doing certain things, and you've both been around the gym for all your lives, and there's a million different exercises. Uh, but sometimes people get hooked on doing the same thing over and over. So I remember having conversations with people that they love doing this certain exercise, and it was not the right one for them, and it created an injury. And as soon as they got back to it, they cleared to go back into the gym, they were right back doing the same exercise.
Yeah,
And it's just like, oh, but it's so good for building muscle. All right, but like you just came off, rotator cuff surgery because of this. So,
it's
you
just
know,
time out of the gym.
choose something different. There's a million different exercises.
No, and you've always been good about that, finding those avenues to work around those things. So that's one of the things we've been blessed to experience with you.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it's a matter of not trying to work through something. It's trying to work around it. And a lot of people have that, I'm just going to work through the injury and get to the other side, and everything's going to be fine. And I'm guilty of that too. I mean, I've in my younger days, I probably did that far too often, and I kind of feel it these days now.
Yeah,
Um,
with age comes experience, right?
yeah, was it good judgment comes with experience, but experience usually comes with bad judgment.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
What role does mindset play when we're talking about rehabilitation?
Um, I can give like two examples, and I think it's so important. I really do. I loved powerlifting, and I was half decent at it. And I started accumulating some injuries. I had knee surgery, and then I had back surgery. And the back surgery kind of played with my head a little bit, to where I was shying away from the heavier weights, and that's what kind of caused me to switch to bodybuilding, because I realized that if I didn't have that mentality of not being afraid to get under a heavy barbell and squat, um, then it probably wasn't the sport for me.
I probably
Um,
idea.
yeah, I mean, you look at it, it's just like you're at a point in life, and like, I lost a lot of time with work, and the surgery itself was a little bit rough. So maybe it's time to do something else. But I have friends that are, they bounce right back from it. It's just like, what, it was a speed bump, and they get right back into the powerlifting, and that's fine. So their mindset's a little bit different than mine was. Um, as a coach, um, I look at my current role in working with cancer patients, and my job there is to help them find hope. You know, I don't give them hope. I don't like, that's not my role. My role is to help them find um, hope that being more active is going to improve their outcome.
Right.
Okay. And I think coaching across the board should be like that. You should, whether it's a bodybuilder or a bikini competitor or a power lifter or a lacrosse player or whatever, you are trying to help somebody find something inside of them that makes them believe that, yes, I can do this. I can, whether it's coming back from an injury or whether it's getting ready for a competition, or you're trying to improve their self-confidence, and that's, I think that mindset right there, that's what a coach should be doing, is to getting a person to believe in themselves, you know not believing in the coach, it's believing in themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. That's half the battle, and I know that you've had those conversations with us. Coming back and recovering. Um, I just have so many questions. I'm kind of looking around. I don't want to get all over the place on us, but I want to talk a little bit about. We try to keep a little focus too on some of the struggles Danielle and I have experienced to share through the podcast for people that may go through something similar. But you worked closely with us during our significant surgeries for both of us. What were your first thoughts when you looked at where we were physically in getting us to the places we wanted to be, whether it was her to the police academy, me going back to the stage, just trying to get a little bit of your mindset of how you approach those things?
For me, it was, and I think you remember the initial conversation I had regarding Danielle, because that surgery came first, and that's, kind of watching her move and everything. And I think I said to you, I think I can help her, you know. And to me, it's kind of I look at things a little bit differently, I think, in a traditional sense, where I don't necessarily break everything down into different categories.
Right.
I know, like, there are certain approaches where it's kind of like, okay, we're going to do speed training, we're going to do strength training, we're going to do balance training, we're going to do, all of these different things. And to me, first and foremost, it's strength. Okay. Because I think a lot of problems get eliminated when a person is stronger. So, and that includes stability. Like, I'm not just even talking about the strength to lift something or to move something. I'm talking about, like, the actual strength to kind of keep everything together and to remain stable.
To ask you about that,
So
'cause I know you're big on stability.
yeah, and it's kind of a more stable athlete is always going to be a better athlete.
Right.
One that is has, if you look at somebody and while they're moving, their body is kind of going in all sorts of different directions, and when they perform an exercise, um, their their spine kind of goes this way and their hips go that way, and knees zig when they should be zagging, and that, to me, that's one of the things that kind of lead into injury. You want, like, you think of your body as a whole. Um everything has a job when you're in motion, whether it's um keeping things from not moving, or whether it's keeping things moving in a specific direction, or a transfer of energy. um we talk about, like, people talk about being getting faster, and they focus on being faster, and they build an engine, but there's no brakes. So you see a lot of people come up with, like, ACL injuries, or they come up with hamstring injuries and things like that, because, hey, their 40-yard dash improved, but that deceleration, the muscles that are involved in decelerating or changing direction couldn't keep up with this big block engine that you built, and that's when things kind of fall apart. So if if you are strong enough to do, something, your body has to be equally stable enough to hold the position to allow you to do it.
And that's an interesting point because a lot of people, and you come from the coach's perspective where you get this, and I know I've learned so much from you over the years, but a lot of people think about that first part of the exercise, to your point about being able to run faster and move quicker, but they don't think about the backside of it, which is where the injuries can occur. And you see that in a lot of athletes, whether it be soccer, football, those stopping, turning movements, lacrosse, for instance. I know you've worked with some lacrosse players, and I've seen some of the work you've done with them for those types of movements, the stopping, quick stopping, turning, twisting. So that's an interesting perspective to bring up.
I look at first responders as, I use the term tactical athlete when I think I was going for I think it was when I was still in my undergrad, I used the expression tactical athlete, and it was kind of a couple of my classmates said that they don't understand how that is. And it's just like, and when you go to the police academy and you're doing all of these drills and things like that, you're a tactical athlete.
Yes,
You
it's
know, you are, you're asked to perform and you're being graded on your performance. So you have to kind of look at it as, okay, it's law enforcement, but these people are also specifically training for athletic events.
you don't
So
know where law enforcement's going to lead you. For instance, I spent, about, I don't know, 8 to 10 years on a tactical team. And some of the stuff you do in those situations, it requires a lot of the athleticism you're talking about. You may be helping pull a 180-pound partner up, out of a hole. We did some exercises with underground tunnels over the years and different things. And you're doing a lot of these movements with, 30-plus-pound vests and equipment on your body. You're carrying long arms, you're in very awkward positions. So, there is a lot of, connection there with that stuff.
yeah, there's you look at all the different law enforcement agencies have their different physical fitness requirements, and within those agencies to be in different branches, different, the tactical teams or the rapid response teams, things like that. It's all different. There's a difference between a wildland firefighter and an urban firefighter.
Yeah.
If you look around the country, there are things like elevation that you have to consider. There's climate. It's a lot different, I guess, being a fireman up in Maine than it is down in Arizona, because of the heat and humidity and all those things that people don't necessarily consider. And again, it's just like, oh, I'm in great shape, I go to the gym. You have to kind of look at like what's required of your job. You do a needs analysis of what is required for the job and for the testing, and what do I need to concern myself with to stay healthy while I'm on the job, that maybe I'm not getting from my regular workouts. And regular workouts are fine. I mean, there's plenty of police officers and firefighters and EMTs that go to the gym, and it's great that they're staying in shape. But I do think that there are things that probably you can maybe want to add to the workouts, that will address keeping healthy, on the job.
And it's interesting. I can think of stories as you're talking of different careers. And when you brought up firefighting, my brother-in-law was a career firefighter in New York City. He himself suffered a knee injury, and a lot of guys in his house had knee injuries because these guys put the Scott packs on, all the equipment, and they're jumping out or off of the fire truck as they're rolling up on the scene. And a lot of these guys, to your point, bench press doesn't help you, but maybe, different types of exercises to improve the legs, box jumping, leg exercises, the side to side movements like you worked on with Danielle and her knee. Those things could help, eliminate or minimize the risk of some of those types of injuries.
To your point, and getting back to what we were saying about building the engine, but not really considering the brakes. Um, you know, box jumps are really, really popular in the gym, and it I know it's driven you crazy as a gym owner when you see people just pile boxes on top of boxes and stuff, and you're kind of cringing because
Yeah, you see
the person, yeah, you see some things that you really, as a gym owner, who pays for insurance, you really don't want to be seeing that. Um, but I think the most important thing, like with that, is it's not about learning how to jump, it's about learning how to land,
yes,
right?
yes.
So, I mean, jumping is so important. Jumping is, I mean, that helps you build force. But what happens when gravity kicks in and you have to land? So before somebody learns how to jump, they really need to learn how to land. They need to learn how to absorb that force and stay healthy. So jumping off the fire truck or jumping out a window or something, I mean, there's stuff that's just going to happen where, it's almost unavoidable that somebody gets injured, but you can minimize that risk by training somebody to be able to not only produce force, but to be able to absorb it.
Yeah, great. No, great point. Great point. I know you wanted to touch on something, Dan.
Yeah. I mean, I know we've had these conversations a lot about social media and the, fitness advice that you find online. What are some of the myths that you've seen that kind of frustrate you the most?
Um, I watched, I saw a post this morning, and a friend of mine actually responded to it that this person had put, like, um, minimum standards of, what a person should be able to do, and they had a certain number of push-ups and pull-ups and squats and all of these things, and if you can't do these, you're not, you know you're not working hard enough. And it's like, okay, well, and my friend responded that, the guy must be an idiot, um, because you're making such a general statement, and you don't know, what age group are we talking about? What level of experience are we talking about? What are we, um, if I went into work and I talked to one of my patients that's a stage 4 metastatic, lung cancer patient, and said, like, these are the fitness standards that you have to meet, you know, um, it's unrealistic, it's ridiculous, it's that. So to me, it's kind of like, um, I find out where somebody is starting,
Right.
and I find out what it is that they need to do. Okay. So like when we talk about, like, when you send me, like, these are the requirements for the police academy, these are the requirements for the prosecutor's office, these are the requirements of this. It's like, okay, let's see where you're at, and let's work up to these standards. There's no universal standard as far as what a person should be able to do. There are goals that we can have, but there are things that you have to kind of just take a look at the person and say, like, who am I working with? What is the population? What are their limitations? What are we trying to accomplish here? So I kind of hate these things that are just painted in broad strokes, where it's just like everybody should be able to do this, or everybody should be able to, do so many pull-ups or push-ups, or run the 40-yard dash in this. And it's just, that's the frustrating thing.
Yeah, and everybody's an individual. Everybody responds differently. Everybody has different capabilities. So to your point, a broad brush like that never works.
Right.
And that's why we say all the time on here, and we try to bring the amateur perspective of what we're learning along the way, that without having some guidance or someone with some experience like yourself, you're just fishing around out there, and you can get a lot of bad advice that's going to send you down the wrong track. And either delay your success at what you're trying to achieve or risk putting you at injury. And I'm the first to admit that I did that for many years. I mean, meeting you was really just a blessing for us, and especially what you've done for Danielle has been absolutely amazing. As a father, I say that, and as a friend, I've always said I appreciate you more than anything. But that's kind of where we came from when we decided to do this, because we just saw so many things that were troubling us, that we wanted to just bring some reality to it. So, there's so many things we want to cover, Rich, and I know we're going to plan to have you back, but a couple more times at least. So we just want to run through a few more things before we run out of time today. Let me ask you a question. If someone over 40 or 50, middle age like myself, wants to get healthier, you hear people say that a lot. Where should they start? I know we talk, nutrition, strength training. People just don't know where to begin. Where would you say the best place for them to begin is?
Um, I think I think again, you can't manage what you don't measure, so you have to kind of take an assessment of, you know, where am I at right now? And what is my idea of getting in shape? Is it competing in a fitness contest? Is it dropping 10 pounds? Is it lowering my blood pressure or my cholesterol or things like that? But you have to set those goals for yourself. You have to determine where where is it that you want to go. And then you have to assess yourself honestly as to what your starting point is. And if you know that, then the next step is put together a plan. What is realistic? What's a realistic time frame for me to get there? Um, you know, I like when summer comes up, and as a gym owners, you saw this all the time. Somebody shows up in April and says that they want to get ready for the summer, and they probably should have kept their membership all winter long. It's kind
Yeah.
of you can't just you can't force the results. um and then I think the other thing is kind of getting back to what Danielle's question was before, and this kind of ties in. um you know the We get hung up on numbers. We get hung up on weight, we get hung up on body fat percentage, we get hung up on how
Yeah.
much can you bench press or how big your arm. Ultimately, like bodybuilding, when you both step on stage, it's visual. Nobody asks you, oh, what's your body fat percentage or how big are your arms or anything like that. It's all visual. So I think, getting in shape for somebody, if they look in the mirror and they're happy with themselves, then I'm happy for them. I've done my job as a trainer. I've made them happy. Um, as opposed to, when they step on the scale, even though their pants fit better, their all their cholesterol and their blood pressure and their health markers have improved, but that one thing that really bothers them is, well, the scale didn't move as much as I wanted to.
They get a
But
number.
they were really happy looking in the mirror, and then they stepped on the scale and it spoiled it all for them.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
listen, I know you and I have had many conversations about that, and you've helped
You're
me.
not the only one.
Yeah, you've helped me see the light, thank God. And I'm not subservient to the scale any longer.
Nope.
But you're right. Everybody focuses on the scale. Rich, as we get ready to wind down, I'm gonna have Danielle do a little quick rapid fire questions at you. We just want to get a couple of your quick thoughts on these.
First one is, what's your favorite exercise?
What's my favorite exercise? Reverse grip bench press.
What's the most underrated exercise?
Uh, Trap bar deadlift.
Mm, absolutely.
Biggest nutrition mistake?
Uh, Cutting carbs too low.
Best recovery tool?
Sleep.
I knew that. Yep.
Most important supplement?
Creatine.
Favorite motivational quote?
Um, That's a really good one. When you know who you are, when your mission is clear and you burn with the fire of unbreakable will, no deluge can dampen your heart. Um, no storm uh can touch your spirit. You know you are alive.
That's good.
Um,
Really good one.
I don't know if that's the exact one. It's by Chief Seattle. But you kind of caught me off guard. Otherwise, I would have researched that one.
That's all right.
It's yeah, it's pretty darn close.
I will say I'm a little upset that your favorite exercise was not bear crawls.
That was again, that's something that for me, that was I knew they were going to ask you to do it in the police academy. So it's something that I think that you needed to at least be familiar with.
And it was definitely helpful. As much as I complained about it, we did do them. But before we run
You're
out of
welcome,
time,
detective.
I do want to ask you, where can our listeners find you on social media, and what are your platforms?
So I'm on Instagram as Fitter Tactical Strength. And then I'm on Facebook. I have a personal page, Rich Fitter, and I have a business page, Fitter Tactical Strength, that I really need to be updating more.
And what's the best way for people to connect with you? Is it through messaging? Is it through email? Is it through something else?
Bat signal. Um, yeah, I mean it's email is, or I should say, message me through Facebook or Instagram.
Perfect.
Well, Rich, look, personally and professionally, we want to thank you for joining us today. We didn't have a whole lot of time, and I know we have a lot of other things we want to cover with you. So we're hopeful that you'll come back on future
Sure.
episodes. We'd like you to come back and have some conversation with us regarding our road to the ANBF stage and Mr. America stage in the fall. We'd like to, get some feedback from you on what you've seen and how things have been. And we think it'd be good for those listeners that are novices that are trying to understand the process as well. So, if you'd be able to do that for us, we'd appreciate it.
Always good to chat with family.
Well, I appreciate it, Rich. Thank you for your time. And you'll be hearing from us on a regular basis from day to day. So
A little
I
too.
look forward to it.
but thanks again for taking your time out of your weekend and sharing some thoughts with us.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
All right. Your circumstances may slow you down, but they don't have to stop you. Strength isn't measured by how much you can lift when everything is going right. It's measured by how many times you're willing to get back up and keep moving forward when life knocks you down.
Well, it was awesome to have Rich on the screen and to actually get to see him this time.
That was great. It was awesome.
We don't get to see Rich a lot because, like he said, he's in Hawaii. So this was really special for us. But like Rich said, if you're trying to connect with him on Instagram or Facebook, he's at Fitter Tactical Strength. And then if
Fitter, Fitter.
Yep, Tactical Strength. And if you're looking to connect with us on any platforms, we are on Facebook and Instagram as well at Team Crosson Podcast, as well as our YouTube channel. If you want to watch the video with Rich, we're at Team Crosson Podcast as well there.
And we'll be looking forward to having Rich back on. He is an absolute wealth of knowledge that we couldn't possibly cover in one episode. We wanted to take a chance to kind of get an overview with Rich, but we'll look forward to having him back on for a variety of different conversations, be it nutrition, strength training. There's going to be a few things I'm sure we'll cover with him.
Absolutely. And until next time, as we always like to say, if we can do it,
why not you?
see you next time.
Thanks, everybody.